1996 was an interesting year. The Summer Olympics, Sony PlayStation's star was on the rise, and Nintendo was shaking things up with the launch of the Nintendo 64. But more importantly, 3D fighting games were all the rage and being pushed big time over its 2D predecessors, with Virtua Fighter and Tekken in the forefront. But not all was well in the industry, as it was a troubling time for one Tecmo Company Limited, which was best known at the time for the Ninja Gaiden and Tecmo Sports series, particularly Tecmo Bowl. With the company 2 years in the red on terms of sales, Tecmo desperately needed a hit, and fighting games were still quite lucrative. With this knowledge, Tecmo delivered a 1-2 punch to catch a second win with two radically different fighting games, one in 2D and the other in 3D. While its 2D fighting game Tokidensho Angel Eyes whiffed its strike in the competition, the latter 3D fighter delivered quite a hold that gave Tecmo the momentum it needed to stay in the ring. Released in arcades in November of that year, that game was Dead or Alive, created and helmed by Tomonobu Itagaki, who would later form Team Ninja, a development team consisting of only the best and brightest in Tecmo for high-quality games. As the title of this video suggests, the focus here will not be on the games themselves. Instead, I want to take the history of this series in a different direction, one that is often overlooked, ignored, or dismissed outright. Contrary to popular opinion, there is a substantial amount of lore and depth to the characters and story of Dead or Alive, but it has gone in a direction that not many fans are pleased with. And as a result, Dead or Alive 6 feels very underwhelming and leaves many questions about the series' future. My purpose for making this series is to not only reintroduce the lore and characters of the DOA series to newcomers and longtime fans, but to also shed light on the original story as well as the retcon storyline in 2011's Dead or Alive Dimensions. Yes, there are differences, and some even radically change the impact of some story elements and characters, for better or for worse. But for the sake of consistency, we will be basing this on 2011's Dead or Alive Dimensions storyline, and cover the differences in the original story at a later date. By the time this series is finished, you'll have a better understanding of why DOA 6's story feels undercooked. Without further ado, this is the first chapter of Dead or Alive Lore Explained. Our first character in this series is none other than Kasumi, the second eldest child of the leader of the Mugen Tenshin clan of ninjas, the main protagonist of the series, and the true face of the franchise. But there's more to her character than just these given merits. When creating DOA, Tecmo already had another similar ninja-themed franchise with brutally challenging difficulty in the form of the Ninja Gaiden series. Someone even coined it as one of the shining definitions of Nintendo hard, given the NES version was the most popular one to play at the time. So if Ryu Hayabusa represented that of a hardened personality of a lone ninja, and by reflection, the rough aesthetics and difficulty of his signature games, Kasumi represented a softer one, bounded by family, a recurring theme fortified over time in series creator Tomonobu Itagaki's original vision for the series. And this softer attitude will extend to Dead or Alive's easier, more forgiving pick-up-and-play gameplay formula, among other things. Although having a soft-hearted personality and preferring to avoid conflict if possible, she is nonetheless outspoken and will not hesitate to fight unless absolutely necessary. And over time, particularly after the events of Dead or Alive 5, she gains a greater mental toughness while still keeping her general demeanor, showing signs of maturity during the 2-year gap between Dead or Alive 4 and Dead or Alive 5. Kasumi's most recognizable trademark design is simple yet easy to distinguish. She wears a blue side-tie dress with white trim and short puffy sleeves, with similarly colored leg and arm guards. On the back of her outfit, her name can be seen printed in Japanese, and the front part of her skirt has Phoenix printings. Although never used in actual gameplay in the Dead or Alive fighting games, her weapon of choice is her signature wakizashi, with a red rope tied at the base of the hilt. Her hair is long and that of a light ginger, usually with a yellow ribbon to complement her choice of hairstyles. Kasumi's name translates to mist in English, and is often associated with loneliness and confusion. This perfectly portrays her eventual loneliness when faced with exile by her clan, as well as her oftentimes irrational thoughts fueled by emotion, a trait that even her brother Hayate shares, albeit to a lesser extent.
Failure. Hayate, you mustn't act on emotion.
Incidentally, when Victor Donovan distances himself with the company he helped build with Fane Douglas, he officially names his own faction Mist, which is fitting since much of its cloning projects involve Kasumi's own DNA. Taking all this into consideration, it comes as no surprise when series creator Tomonobu Itagaki considers Kasumi his favorite character to create. The Mugen Tenshin, a highly disciplined ninja clan whose proof of leadership lies in those who inherit its secret and powerful technique, the Torn Sky Blast. Between the two brothers Shiden and Raido, the former would be chosen to inherit his secret technique, who would then pass it on to his son Hayate. However, the story of the Dare Alive series truly begins in an act of betrayal. Furious over his late father's choice to have his older brother inherit leadership of the clan, Raido decided to take matters into his own hands. One night, he would take Shiden's wife Ayame by force and rape her out of spite. This action would lead to the clan putting Raido to death, but Raido manages to escape before any action could be taken. Now I stress once again that Kasumi is the main protagonist of the Dare Alive series and the true face of the franchise, but before she could become the iconic character she is today, she was once a carefree child who spent much of her days playing with her older brother Hayate and her younger friend Ayane on her spare time. The latter, much to the villagers' chagrin. As the trio of children grew older, so did their discipline trained as ninjas, with Kasumi and Hayate going separate ways with Ayane, who has learned a different style of ninjutsu under her master Genra, called Mugen Tenshin Hajimon. Eventually, Kasumi would learn that Ayane is in reality her half-sister. 16 years after his exile, Raido returned, stronger than any of the village had ever conceived. Raido had developed an ability to instantly copy any move he sees to perfection in photographic memory, and saw an audience with Hayate. Although Kasumi's older brother fought valiantly, he was ultimately defeated, with Raido leaving him a spinal injury that would leave him comatose. With him crippled, this led their father Shiden with no choice but to train Kasumi and teach her the Torn Sky Blast. Over time, Kasumi decided she was strong enough to leave the village and take revenge. Unfortunately, according to the Shinobi Code, departing the village without permission is an act of betrayal, resulting in death. And so Kasumi's story begins here, with a point of no return to the village she was happily raised in. With her younger sister Ayane in pursuit of Kasumi with orders from her master Genra to kill her, it was a constant game of cat and mouse.
There's no turning back now. Ayane. Sister or not, I cannot allow a runaway ninja to survive. Die!
Until almost conveniently, Vital appeared out of nowhere to save Kasumi in particular. and a mysterious woman with white hair clad in a red coat clamored for her to get in.
Jump in! Hurry! No time to explain! Just get in!
Oh, no, you don't! Ah! Die! Damn it, who are you?
Move!
Ayane.
Traitor! You won't get away!
Inside the VTOL, Kasumi sat down with two intimidating figures, the woman who saved her and a quiet man clad in mercenary attire with a red beret. Almost as if she could read Kasumi's mind, the woman knew exactly who she was pursuing and told her he'd be at the Dareline tournament, a no-holds-barred martial arts tournament where only the strongest fighters compete, and Raito was among them. She would shortly introduce herself as Christy, while the mercenary, called Bayman, advised Kasumi to stay out of the tournament, doubting that a girl her age would have the ability to get far. An opinion Christy obviously did not share, challenging Bayman to put her to the test upon arrival on the grand luxury ship called the Freedom Survivor. Surprised by her skill, Bayman will learn from Christy afterward that she is, in fact, an actual ninja.
Tough yourself, holding your own against a ninja like that.
A ninja?
During the opening ceremony held by founder Fame Douglas in the ballroom of the Freedom Survivor, Kasumi encountered Ayane once again, much to her surprise.
Ayane, why are you here? Why do you think I'm here, traitor? To kill you, of course. Father's orders. That's why I got this. Genra sent you? I'm here to kill you, defeat Raito, and avenge Hayate once and for all. Enjoy the cruise. You will never defeat me. What?
We have done it before.
Is that Raito?
The world's greatest minds have collaborated.
After the ceremony, Kasumi and Ayane follow Raito, who was acting as Fame Douglas' bodyguard on his way to VTOL. Ayane impatiently attacks Raito and is quickly dispatched by him in one punch, with Raito taunting her.
Raito! Ayane! Ah!
Your skills are wanting, daughter. Just what the hell has Genra been teaching you?
My father died long ago!
Quelling the conflict, Fame Douglas acted as diplomat and advised them all to save their energy for the tournament, where Kasumi and Ayane will no doubt have their shot at Raito if they manage to get to the finals. The first Dareline tournament had the following roster of opponents: Gen Fu, an aging Chinese master Xing Li Huan, who joins the tournament in pursuit of money to find a cure for his granddaughter's illness. Bass Armstrong, a famous veteran American wrestler who competes to not only prove his skills are the real thing, but also to set an example for his daughter Tina to follow. Zack, an American self-taught Muay Thai fighter with a carefree attitude that borders on the flamboyant and eccentric. He is helplessly attracted to Bass's daughter Tina, and initially considers Jan Li his self-proclaimed rival. Jan Li, a hot-blooded Chinese orphan who taught himself his own style of Jeet Kune Do after years of studying martial arts movies by Bruce Lee, motivated by the uneasiness of his childhood. He lives for nothing more than a good fight. Tina Armstrong, a young American female wrestling superstar who initially follows his father's footsteps. However, she yearns to be more than just his father's shadow, and hopes to make a name for herself by pursuing her many, many dreams. And last but not least, Lei Fang, a Chinese college student raised under a wealthy family. She joins the tournament to go up with Jan Li, who recently saved her from street thugs, much to her embarrassment. There was also a rumor that a certain solitary super ninja was there too. Although they were tough competition in their own right, Kasumi and Ayane ultimately made their way to the semifinal match, located in a modified danger zone area docked by the ship, with Kasumi being the victor who would go on to fight Raito himself.
Raito. This is for Hayate.
Although Kasumi defeats him soundly, Raito suddenly gets his second win, with an aura of dark crimson energy engulfing her, turning his eyes red and his gray hair black. Despite being more powerful than ever, Kasumi still stood her ground, bringing down Raito a second time. But the evil ninja still had one more trick up his sleeve, and that was to kill Kasumi with her own Torn Sky Blast.
Raito!
Realizing this was her moment to be a badass, Kasumi made a split-second decision to clash her own move with his.
It's finally over.
During the struggle, a kunai from out of nowhere impaled Raito's arm, breaking his concentration enough for Kasumi to win the clash, which sealed the fate of Raito the Rapist. Kasumi had no time to celebrate for long, as the whole arena was coming down. Unfortunately, she failed to escape and was shortly captured by Dootech officials. It's then revealed the one who threw the kunai was none other than Ryu Hayabusa.
Master Ryu!
Kasumi's been kidnapped. Let's go!
Master! That traitor. Always doing as she pleases.
Although Ayane was under his supervision, Hayabusa had different intentions when looking for Kasumi, promising Hayate that he wouldn't let her die. Meanwhile, in a Dootech lab located in Germany, Kasumi was held captive and saw a duplicate of herself taunting her, much to her surprise. It later came to light that the duplicate was a clone named Alpha, whom the head scientist, Lisa Hamilton, had to keep a close eye on. It wouldn't be long until Hayabusa infiltrated the lab and Kasumi sought an opportunity to escape, but the clone Alpha was blocking her way, taunting her and implying that Hayate was taken from the village.
You had Hayate to yourself all this time. From now on, Hayate is going to be all mine. What do you mean? Is Hayate in here? Let him go! Let my brother go! Sorry. I just love Hayate too much. You fake!
The only way she was going to defeat her was by knowing herself.
High. Hey. Middle. Hey. Low. Hey. High. Hey. Middle. Hey. Low. Hey. Who are you? Hey, what the hell is going on in here? Just when things were getting fun. Alpha, I told you not to do anything without permission. What did you do to Hayate? Oh, great. You just had to tell her. I swear. I'll make you pay for this. Let Hayate go. Just calm down, Kasumi.
Get down, Kasumi! I vowed to Hayate that I wouldn't let you die. Now I'm here to make good on my oath!
Hayabusa. I don't like these odds. I'm out of here. Wait!
Let her go, Kasumi. We need to get out of here.
But Hayate!
Shortly after the fight, Hayabusa appeared and grabbed her to safety with the help of Irene. More on her later. Hiding in the forest nearby, Hayabusa and Irene later discovered that Dootech had been using Raito and Kasumi as experiments for DNA sequencing, possibly to create powerful life forms intended for warfare. Not only that, but Dootech managed to capture and restore Hayate as well, but with the intention of being the test subject for the mysterious Project Epsilon.
That's...
It's Hayate. They've resurrected his body.
I have to go. I have to go help him.
Go where? He's long gone. Didn't you see the helicopter taking off?
We can't know for sure unless we go back and check.
You're a shinobi, right? Act like one.
I know what I'm doing. We're just wasting time here.
Use your head. What would going back now possibly accomplish?
Ryu, what the hell? That's enough!
If I let you die, I'd be breaking my promise to Hayate. I cannot let you do this.
But what if Hayate dies? All will be for naught!
Overhearing the tip, Kasumi took it upon herself to lead and fight Hayate by herself, despite Hayabusa's efforts to keep her safe as he promised. This would lead to the announcement of the second Dead or Alive tournament by Helena Douglas, the daughter and successor to the now deceased Fame Douglas. During the tournament, strange and supernatural events were taking place. Aside from the clones being created by Doatech, the supernatural being from another dimension, the Tengu world, had suddenly emerged, posing a great threat to any surrounding him, and the violent energy surrounding the second Dead or Alive tournament only enticed him further. Hayabusa attended the tournament for the sole purpose of ending the threat of the evil Tengu Akatsubo. During the tournament, he would encounter a karate master with a very familiar face. After their brief battle, the man known as Ein would recognize him and remember his name.
It's coming back to me. Your name is Ryu.
I know much about you. Have faith in me. Until we meet again.
My deception rules all. Of creation.
It is done. The evil is vanquished. A new path awaits.
After Tengu was defeated, Hayabusa would once again cross paths with Kasumi and Ein, encouraging each other to fight so that Ein could regain all of his memories of who he is, which somehow proved successful after Kasumi was knocked unconscious.
Not bad. That's all by defeat.
That move! Hayate.
I remember. My name is Hayate. I am the shinobi of the wind. Kasumi. I'm sorry.
Feels like someone's interrupting our little reunion.
Yes. And I think I know who.
The reunion is short-lived, as Genro was hiding in the shadows in an attempt to kill them both, revealing that he was the one who released Tengu from the Tree of Miyama.
Genra, what are you doing here?
I am above you, Shinobi. I have no business with you anymore.
Quit toying with us, Genra.
Stop. Genra, it was you who summoned Bankotsubo, wasn't it?
And just how is learning not supposed to help you now?
Wait! Ayane.
The Tengu of Miyama reigns supreme!
Another one of Genra's tricks?
An innocent soul, tainted by evil. I hope we can recover her.
We have no choice.
Right.
forcing both Hayabusa and Hayate to fight a brainwashed Ayane and Kasumi Alpha while making his escape.
Another Genra trick? Yes.
After Ayane came to her senses and Alpha escaped, Kasumi too saw her chance to escape, knowing that Ayane and Hayate wouldn't let her go easily, having broken the shinobi code.
Kasumi, where are you?
During the events of the third Derlock tournament, Kasumi would once again be pursued by Ayane, crossing paths somewhere in the woods of Japan. However, instead of outright killing her, Ayane offered a truce, a chance for her to see Hayate in exchange for her right to defeat Genra, her former master and surrogate father, by her own hand.
気楽な抜け人ね。勝手に会えば、隼人。会うわ。私はゲンナを殺しに行くだけ。いずれこの場は譲れない。
Kasumi accepts the terms and goes to see Hayate. Disappointingly, he didn't exactly welcome Kasumi with open arms, reminding her of the fact that she deserted the village without permission.
Hayate.
Kasumi, you defied the ninja code. You must be punished.
I will not die.
Go then. I'll pretend I didn't see you.
However, he was not entirely without grace, as he pretended their encounter never happened and sent her on her way. And that's pretty much the extent of Kasumi's involvement in the third Derlock tournament, as this chapter of the story was all about Ayane. This would change, however, in the events leading to the fourth Derlock tournament, as Victor Donovan's true nature of his plans would come full circle in his deadliest bioweapon to date, Alpha 152, the full realization of Project Alpha with the power to destroy the world. Nearby the Mugen Tenshin village, Kasumi once again crosses paths with Ayate, pleading him not to pursue Doatek, still believing they could start over with the actual corrupted ninjas, Genra and Raido, gone for good.
兄さん、もうやめようよ。目の前に兄さんがいて。なのに、これ以上私何も望まない。ドアテックなんてどうでもいいよ。里へ帰ろう。みんなを連れて。里を捨てた抜け人が。
Conveniently, Ayane appears, reminding her that she broke the shinobi code again. Geez, this is like a broken record at this point. Realizing there was nothing she could do to stop them, Kasumi also decides to go where the clan is headed, the Doatek Tri-Tower, a massive 999-meter trio of buildings linked together by a massive arena plate fenced with heavy-duty high-voltage wires. It was there where the final battle between the Mugen Tenshin and the old Doatek will commence and conclude. Within the tower, Kasumi crosses paths with the young CEO Helena Douglas.
もう終わりにして。私たち忍びのものを放っておいて。
Victor Donovan intends to unleash Alpha 152, a force she believes cannot be controlled even by him. Kasumi immediately knew she was referring to her clone and wanted to stop it herself, but Helena, pointing the gun at her, refused to let her take action.
どうして。
あなたには関係ない。
所詮はウヌが身から出た。
Just in the nick of time, Hayabusa intervened, knocking the gun off Helena's hand and giving Kasumi a fair shot, no pun intended, at getting past her. Finally making it to the laboratory alongside Hayabusa, Alpha 152 had just been released. Accepting her responsibility, Kasumi knew what must be done, and Hayabusa left her to slay the superpowered Jello monster.
これが。
化け物とてウヌが血を分けた因果。これはお前の戦い。その手で決着をつける。颯が俺を呼んでいる。死ぬなよ、かすみ。
Unfortunately, she alone could not stop it, and the creature was let loose, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. and Hayate and Ayane were its next victims.
あやね、
颯様。
怪我はないな。
はい。
あの爆発だ。アルファ1号に。あやね。
颯様。
But even then, their combined strength couldn't defeat it. Left with no other option, Eleanor was forced to destroy the massive trio of towers in hopes that it would bring Alpha 152 and herself down along with it, believing it was the only way to redeem herself and tear down the old Doatech at the same time. With the Tri-Tower destroyed and Doatech believed to be defeated, the Mugen Tenshin's mission was believed to be a success. For now. From here, the events of Dead or Alive 1 through 4, which the story of Dead or Alive Dimensions covers, has concluded, and all these events took place within 1 year. The next game in the series, Dead or Alive 5, takes place 2 years after Dead or Alive 4. By then, negative public opinion of Doatech began to wane, and it was the perfect time for Helena Douglas, yes she survived, to rebrand the company the right way. However, after tirelessly hunting down Alpha 152 to no avail, Kasumi fled to New York, confronting Lisa Hamilton about the whereabouts, also to no avail. But while she was chasing her clone, Ayane was still chasing Kasumi. Some things never change. However, she wasn't the only one following her. The mercenary Bayman was too, with the intent of searching for something else, an answer he was not willing to give to Kasumi, despite her clan helping him put an end to Donovan's evil plans 2 years ago. Growing ever more suspicious, Kasumi returned to the Freedom Survivor and asked Helena for help, and shockingly, Helena cooperated, telling her its locations at an oceanic oil refinery. She also told her that she is sending Hayate, Hayabusa, and Ayane to investigate as well.
You'll find what you're looking for here. However, I'm sending Hayate and the others as well.
My brother.
Arriving at an oil rig a few days later, Kasumi crossed paths with a mysterious man named Rig, a Canadian co-worker of Bass Armstrong who specializes in Taekwondo. She asked him about the whereabouts of Alpha 152, which caused Rig to act strangely. Very strangely.
You can't just go wandering around this place.
Unsurprisingly escalating to a fight, Kasumi and a TKD fighter engaged in battle, with the former swiftly knocking Rig unconscious. But things get even stranger. Somehow, Kasumi knew exactly where to look in the oil refinery and found Lisa Hamilton's secret lab nearby. She then deduced the room next to her was where Alpha 152 had been the entire time, and went through Lisa to destroy it for good. After completing her mission, Hayate and Ayane were waiting for her outside with the intent to kill her. And then, the unimaginable happened. Kasumi was dead.
We must move quickly, Ayane.
Sir.
Or so we believe for a few minutes. It turns out the Kasumi that took down Alpha 152 was also a clone. And if she was the clone, where was the real Kasumi all this time? The answer? She was under the care of an old man named Muramasa, a character many Ninja Gaiden fans will know, as the legendary merchant who aids Hayabusa in one way or another throughout his adventures. Well, in the modern series anyway. Muramasa tells Kasumi that an urgent message was delivered to her, and with that, Kasumi sprang into action to the oil refinery to save Hayate. And with a fresh new look to boot, I kinda like it. It wasn't long until Kasumi discovered Hayate was located in a lab within, locked in a stasis tube. But before she could save him, she would have to go through one of Victor Davin's finest members of the newly formed Mist faction, the snake-fist assassin, Christie.
I can't let you go any further.
Then I'll just fight my way through.
But she was not the only one involved. Upon reaching the room after getting past Christie, an unexpected new face of Mist also stood in her way, and it was none other than the man her clone fought at the bar.
Hey, star of the show has finally arrived. Now let's play.
My brother. Let him go.
He too was swiftly defeated and made his escape with a confident smirk. Realizing what was going on, Lisa intended to override the Upsilon program that was keeping Hayate in stasis lock, but doing so automatically triggered the Phase 4 program, which was evidently a trap set by Rig in the event such a rescue attempt happened.
Help us! So many of them! It's reasonable! Dawn was one! Please, you must stop!
Now, with all the four ninjas together, Victor Davin's plan was set in motion. His goal was to eliminate four of his biggest threats with his latest creation, Phase 4. Putting aside their differences, Kasumi, Hayate, and Ayane, for the first time, worked together to defeat a formidable enemy, and came out on top.
This ends now, by my hand!
Kasumi also plays her part during the events of the 6th Dead or Alive tournament, but this is less of a focus than in Dead or Alive 3. It basically narrows it down to Kasumi being stopped by Phase 4 Alpha clones, Hayabusa saving her ass, and meeting up with the other ninjas to raid the newest Mist base with the restored Raido in tow. It's as straightforward as it gets, not as exciting as it sounds. And that is the story of Kasumi so far. And before anyone says anything, I'm well aware that I overlooked the Dead or Alive Extreme games and Ninja Gaiden 3, and here's why I overlooked them. With the exception of at least the first installment, all the other games in the Dead or Alive Extreme series are considered non-canon. But why only the first one? For that answer, we have to go back to Dead or Alive 3. In Zack's character ending, he keeps the prize money for the tournament and travels to Las Vegas, as he told Genfu that he would double the money at the casino tables. Upon arriving at the casino, Zack would meet a new love interest, Nikki, who sends a wink his way for luck, and the end result of his gambling led to the events of Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball, where he used his massive payout to buy his own island, called Zack Island, only to have it go down in shambles due to a volcanic accident 2 weeks later. It's also safe to say that he gave Genfu the funds necessary for his granddaughter's operation, as she was alive and well in the events of Dead or Alive 4. And let's not forget this game saw the debut of one of the most important characters in the overall DOA story, the Dortex scientist moonlighting as pro wrestler, Lisa Hamilton. The subsequent DOAX sequels don't have anywhere near as much narrative backing to support their viability as canon. Yes, that includes even Dead or Alive Extreme 2, which was helmed under Itagaki at the time. The first DOAX game made sense because the big bad of that game was actually vanquished for good, and it slowed down Victor Davin's evil plans for a while. But in Dead or Alive 4, this made even less sense. Between Dortex's reputation being in shambles, forcing the company to lay low, Alpha 152 on the loose, and Kasumi showing accountability by tracking her down, not to mention her overdue penance for fleeing her village, I highly doubt she'd have time for a vacation with a superpowered jello monster of death raising hell on Earth. At best, they existed purely for fan service, while the first game actually had narrative purpose. and it's the only game to have local multiplayer with a choice of unlockable swimsuits. Ninja Gaiden 3, particularly the updated Razor's Edge, saw Kasumi as a playable character, but her narrative viability is shut down for the following reasons. 1. Even though she can play the story campaign, she has no unique cutscenes or dialogue to make her feel connected to the story at all. And 2, Tomonobu Itagaki never intended for Kasumi to be in a Ninja Gaiden game, as it clashes with the design tone set for her character as the face of Dead or Alive. So you could assume that, in a way, new producer Yosuke Hayashi made Kasumi a non-person when it comes to the story of Ninja Gaiden 3, out of respect for Tomonobu Itagaki's wishes. Thus, Kasumi's appearance in Ninja Gaiden 3 is indeed not canon. So how can Kasumi be improved upon as a character? Well, to be honest, the Dead or Alive series as a whole is Kasumi's story, no matter how many people want to twist it otherwise, and we've seen a slow but steady growth for her as a character both physically and mentally. While she and her brother Hayate still harbor strong emotions when agitated, Kasumi is not so easily yielded to them as she matured in the events of Dead or Alive 5 onward, and she still maintains her ever-kind demeanor in spite of all the loneliness and pain she has endured with the exile, the clones, and 2 actual corrupted ninjas from their own clan. Now, if that's not a testament to a strong female lead in a fighting game, I don't know what is. Still, I can't help but look back to the year 2005 and wonder what depths the lore of Dead or Alive could have went if the prequel game Itagaki mentioned, dubbed Code Chronos, would have played out.
Dead or Alive Code Chronos is the world of Dead or Alive 0, before the first DOA. You've seen the opening movie in Dead or Alive Ultimate with the children. Dead or Alive Code Chronos has a relationship with that movie.
Would it have capitalized on Kasumi's personality? Would it show us exactly how Kasumi's once strong bond with Ayane gradually weakened over a decade? These were some interesting tidbits I would have loved to see that read the story of Dead or Alive more in depth, but alas, we'll never know. But we do know that Victor Donovan will continue making trouble for our heroine, even if it's hard to take him seriously with him resurrecting married women he can't have. But more than anyone, he should be warned. As long as Kasumi has a will to stay alive, as long as she has family by her side, and as long as she has allies to fight alongside her.
あなたに私は倒せない。
I'm Osmic, and I hope you enjoyed the first part of this long-running video series, Dead or Alive Lore Explained. Please look forward to Ninja Gaiden himself next time. Happy listening.